My name is Nathan Yu, and this is Sarah Hall. We are students here at Kane.
We would like to welcome everyone to this year's Remembrance Day service. 2021 continues to present some very unique challenges, and this service will appear a little different than the ones that we have had in the past. But as the veterans we celebrate here today were adaptable in their times of trial, we too will endeavor to maintain the integrity of our remembrance, even as we adapt.
At this time of year, we are compelled and encouraged to honor the sacrifice of thousands. Remember that we are honoring thousands of people, many of them our age, who suffered and died for this country and its values. These people fought to bring hope to millions who were suffering around the world. Every one of those soldiers was a father or a mother, a son or a daughter, a brother or a sister, and a friend. Please show your respect for these individuals. We ask you all to rise for our national anthem. Please be seated following me.
I love unfinished things, the bookmark set between closed pages, the field that waits for seed. Canada is a place like that. A history incomplete, a traveler turning around and wondering at the distance gone, the distance yet to go. What was there, Canada? What is ever there on a country's road but times when we were glorious and times of things no one should have done? Our anthem understands words of pride with notes of mourning and the music of resolve to finish and turn towards the road ahead. Here is a place to say, we go on, not as before, and so keep faith with the best of what we are. Oh Canada, it is a complex love that keeps us together, and all the more true love for that.
At the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, a little over a century ago in 1918, armistice was reached, ending the First World War. It had been the largest conflict the world had ever seen up to that time, and some 9 million combatants sadly lost their lives, including more than 66,000 Canadians and Newfoundlanders. November 11th came to be known in Canada as Remembrance Day, a time for us to pause to honor all those who served and died in the cause of peace and freedom. Canadians gather at cenotaphs and memorials in over 2,000 cities, towns, and villages throughout the country. We stand with our heads bowed and a poppy pinned. We take part in a simple but very moving ceremony to honor the many Canadians who served our country both on and off the battlefields. Over a century later, we still remember.
As Canadians, do you remember those who paid the ultimate sacrifice? What does the Remembrance Day ceremony mean to you? Perhaps the most important thing to remember is that many of those who were killed were not much older than we are now when they were called to war. Some left their personal lives and future aspirations behind to fly warplanes while still in their teens. Others bravely stormed the beaches of Sicily, Italy, and France, or fought the Battle of the Atlantic in tiny corvettes in hopes of bringing freedom to others and protecting the values we share.
At this time, 2 minutes of silence will be observed, one for the war dead and one for the peacekeepers who continue to risk their lives in service for our country. Stand and remain standing for the playing of the last posts and the 2 minutes of silence. The silence will be broken by the playing of Reveal. Please stand. Please be seated.
In Flanders Fields is widely recited every November. Colin John McCrae of Guelph, Ontario, serving as a doctor in the Canadian Expeditionary Force during World War I, was inspired by the sacrifices made by those soldiers around him. Please listen intently as Ava Roberts recites the poem.
In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If you break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields.
We now have Brielle Lajoie and Katrina Mao reading Promesse de ce souvenir.
Promesse de ce souvenir. Ils étaient jeunes, jeunes comme nous. Ils ont servi, donnant généreusement d'eux-mêmes. Nous le promettons, en dépit du temps qui passe, de porter le flambeau et de ne jamais oublier. Nous nous souviendrons d'eux, nous nous souviendrons d'eux. Ils ne veilleront pas comme nous, qui leur avons survécu. Ils ne connaîtront jamais l'outrage, ni le poids des années. Quand viendra l'heure du crépuscule et celle de l'aurore, nous nous souviendrons d'eux, nous nous souviendrons d'eux.
Thank you to our readers.
This year, we recognize the several key anniversaries from monumental events during both World Wars, the Korean Offensive, the Gulf War, and more recent anniversaries from peacekeeping missions. It's important to remember these milestone moments that have affected Canada as a nation and Canadians as a people.
105 years ago, this past July 1st, in the French village of Beaumont-Hamel, 800 soldiers from the Newfoundland Regiment fought on the first day of the infamous Battle of the Somme. The barrage of enemy fire decimated the regiment, leaving only 68 soldiers able to answer a roll call the following morning. The province of Newfoundland does not mark July 1st as many Canadians do, with barbecues and fireworks, but instead commemorate July 1st as a Memorial Day in solemn remembrance.
The Asian theater of war came with heavy costs to Canadian troops during the fighting in World War II. Some 10,000 Canadians served in Asia during the Second World War. This included almost 2,000 soldiers from Manitoba's Winnipeg Grenadiers and Quebec's Royal Rifles of Canada, who were sent across the Pacific Ocean in the fall of 1941 to help defend the British colony of Hong Kong. 80 years ago, the Japanese invaded Hong Kong on the 8th of December 1941. Badly outnumbered, the defenders fought bravely before being forced to surrender on Christmas Day. Approximately 290 Canadians were killed and almost 500 wounded. The survivors' ordeal was just beginning. Over the next 4 years, 267 more would die as a result of malnutrition, beatings by prison guards, and forced labor. Ultimately, the Allies prevailed, but at a heavy cost and sacrifice.
1st and 3rd Battalion, Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry, are stationed here in Alberta and have been in existence since 1914. 2nd Battalion Mechanized Infantry is baracked in Manitoba on a base named for the Kapyong River in Korea. The PPCLI is renowned in Western Canada. This battalion earned its renown 70 years ago in the Kapyong River Valley in Korea. The PPCLI came under intense fire on the 24th and the 25th of April 1951. The fighting was so intense and the Canadians so outnumbered that the PPCLI even requested their own artillery to fire on their positions in order to drive off the attackers. With munitions so low, new supplies needed to be airdropped to the besieged troops in the Kapyong Valley. The resiliency of the Princess Pass was key to the defending of the valley that would have threatened the city of Seoul had the PPCLI relented. Sustaining 33 wounded or killed, the heroism of the PPCLI earned them the United States Presidential Unit Citation, a rarity for a non-American unit. Renowned they are.
The Canadian government has returned the Canadian military to peacetime strength and are actively being trained for the defense of Canada. Canada also holds a long record of peacekeeping throughout the world, participating in UN peacekeeping missions since 1956, 65 years of large-scale United Nations peacekeeping efforts.
In 1956, the Suez Crisis saw a standoff between the Egyptians and the troops of Israel, Britain, and France. Canadians were called into play, a pivotal role as the groundwork for the settling unrest in the international community began to evolve. The conflict in the Sinai Peninsula saw the start of the peacekeeping missions as we know them today.
Remembrance Day is the time we honor those who worked toward freedom and security. Wear your poppy with pride. Please rise for the playing of God Save the Queen.
This concludes our Paul Kane High School 2021 Remembrance Day service.
However you choose to acknowledge Remembrance Day on Thursday, November 11th, please carry forth from this presentation the sacrifice and dedication of those remembered here today. perseverance, knowledge, honor, service.